So welcome to today's webinar. My name's Lenny and I'm going to be your host. What I'm going to be covering is an overview of the Jungle Scout tools and how to use them. So this is a beginner's webinar, so don't expect me to go too in-depth into the tools, but my goal for you guys coming away from this, particularly if you're a beginner, is to just know those very first steps to get you started using Jungle Scout. So first I'm going to go into a demonstration which will take about 25 to 30 minutes. Following that, we're going to go into a Q&A session for about 10 minutes where I answer any questions that you might have. We've got our amazing Jungle Scout support team in the chat box, so they're probably going to answer a lot of your questions along the way, but I'll answer any additional ones right at the end. So let's get right into it. So you're going to see the Jungle Scout tool now. You'll see over on the left-hand side is all of the tools. Okay, you see it's divided into sections. The first one is Find Products. And now that I've clicked on that, you'll see that it's broken down into the three tools inside. So the Product Database and the Niche Hunter are both very good to help you generate product ideas if you have no idea what you want to sell. Then the Product Tracker helps you in the second step to verify those ideas. So let's dive into the Product Database here and I'll show you an example. So firstly, what is the Product Database? Well, basically what we've done is recatalog Amazon's products into our own database with filters that are user-friendly for sellers. Over on Amazon, you can't see important information like how many sales per month are these products getting. You can find out that information inside of our database. So let's go through an example. Firstly, you want to select your categories. You can select whichever ones you like. However, I'll give you a quick tip on some categories that I'd recommend steering clear of when you first start out. So, ones like electronics categories, okay? These tend to have a lot more moving parts. There's a lot more chance of things going wrong in these categories. Then you've got grocery and gourmet food. We tend to recommend staying away from anything that goes in or on the body. Again, there's a higher chance of things going wrong. Then of course, you've just got things like software and Kindle store. We want to sell physical products. And then clothing, shoes, and jewelry. People tend to be a lot more brand loyal in this category. They're less likely to spend money on a no-name brand. So those are just some categories to perhaps stay away from when you first start out. Next up here, you've got product tier, standard or oversize. Generally speaking, I just stick with standard size. Oversize are larger, heavier, they cost more to ship. There are restrictions in terms of how many you can send into Amazon. So you're better off sticking with small and lightweight products, particularly when you start out, and so that is standard. On the right-hand side, you've got this, you can filter by seller type, which is fulfilled by Amazon, fulfilled by merchant, or products sold by Amazon themselves. I like to just leave all of these unchecked and not really filter by any particular seller type. Down onto filters. I'm going to run through all of these here. First up, price. I'm going to set a minimum of $15 and a maximum of $50. Below $15, the profit margins tend to get very slim. And above $50, people are less likely to make an impulse buy on a product or a brand that they don't know. That's why I selected that price range. Next, we're going to look at sales. So you really want to make sure, you really want to verify that there is demand for the product that you want to sell. The best way to gauge that is the number of sales. So I'm going to put in a minimum of 300 sales per month. That works out to be about 10 sales per day, which is a good number to shoot for. Now, while you want high demand, you also want to make sure that product isn't too competitive. So we also want low competition. And the way to gauge that is through the number of reviews. So I'm going to come over to reviews and I'm going to set the maximum to 80. But anywhere between 50 to 100 is kind of a good range to shoot for here. Now, those are the 3 most important filters that I'd recommend, but I'm going to show you a couple more that I think are really cool. So the next one is directly below, and that is the rating or the average star rating. So over on Amazon, you'll see every product gets rated out of 5. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to set the maximum star rating to 3.5, which actually on Amazon is quite a poor rating. So the reason we're doing this, remember that we've still got our sales set to 300 per month. So what this is going to show us are products that are still selling really well, despite the fact that they're rated poorly on Amazon. This gives you the opportunity to improve upon that product. And the way I recommend doing that is by looking at the 1 and 2 star reviews on these listings, seeing what people don't like about them, then take that information to your supplier, get them to fix the problem, and then bring that improved product back to market. So that's why I recommend using the average star rating. It's a really cool filter. The next one I'm going to show you is down the bottom here, called LQS, or Listing Quality Score. This is where we grade all the products, all the listings in our database between 1 and 10 on their listing quality, with 1 being a poor listing and 10 being a really great listing. So here, I'm going to set a maximum of, let's say, 5. Again, we're now just looking at listings that are quite poor, but at the same time are still selling really well. So this now gives you a marketing opportunity to sell a same or similar product, but improve upon things like the images, the description, the bullet points, and the title, and then basically gain that marketing edge on your product. So that's why LQS is a really great filter to use also. Now, when you've found some filters that you like, you can come up here to Save Filter Set, and you can create a filter set so that you can come back and use these filters at a later time, or you can go over to Load Filter Set, and if you're just starting out, we've got some presets that we created for you that you can try out right here. And then you'll also see the ones that you've created on the left. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to come down and hit search. Just looking in the chat box while this loads. Hey Grace, thanks for joining. Hey Lucy, hope you guys are enjoying it so far. All right, back into the demo. Now you'll see up here in the top left, you've got the number of results, 3,500, and then on the right, you can export as a CSV to view in a spreadsheet later on. Let me go through the information that we've got below. First, we can see this column here. The first one is price. You'll see the price. Below that, you'll see the Amazon fees. So here for this top listing, $9.19 is how much Amazon would take if you were selling this product at this price, okay? The net amount below is how much you would actually get credited in your account for each of those sales. Furthermore, if you click on that net number, it brings up this really nifty profit calculator. And what you can do here is input the product price and the product cost. So let's say that I knew my product cost was $7 and it was going to cost $2 per unit to ship. So I would put in $9 here, hit calculate profit, and boom, you can instantly see that you would get $21.80 profit. So you can experiment with different product costs here. But now you can also change the listing price. So this is at about 40 bucks at the moment. Let's say that I was selling a premium version and I felt confident that I could sell mine for, let's say, $42. Hit calculate. Now I can see my profit margin at this price. The other thing that I'd recommend doing is trying to find out roughly what your break-even price is. You know, how low can you sell this product before you start to lose money? So if I put in 20, it looks like I can go down as low as $20 or around about $20 and still break even. This is important to know because maybe when you first start out, you might want to start with a reduced price in order to get more sales because you've got a brand new listing. So it's good to kind of know all the different price points and the different profit margins you can get. So the profit calculator is really great. We can also see the sales over here in the far right, like we covered, as well as the number of reviews and the star rating, the LQS. Down here on the right hand side, you can click and view this, the listing on Amazon. Then up the top, you can add to a group. Now let me do that. I'm going to choose a product right now. Let's see, I'm going to go with this vintage Tupperware. Let's see, what else have we got here? I'll go with this pool cover. So if we click on this plus sign, we'll go to a new group, and I'll explain what we're doing here in a moment. So we'll select our marketplace, we're in the US. Now it's important to name your group after the product. So this was, hopefully this is right, pool cover. And let's hit create and add product. Now this one is adding to the product tracker, and you get a little notice up the top that it's been added to the tracker. Now as a quick recap, going back up here to the top left under Find Products, the product database and the niche hunter help you generate ideas, and then the product tracker helps you verify and narrow down that idea list. Now before we go into the product tracker, I'll quickly show you Niche Hunter. I don't have time to go in depth with Niche Hunter, and later on I will explain a resource where you can find more specific tutorials on this. But firstly, what is Niche Hunter? How is it different to the product database? Well, instead of looking at individual listings that match your criteria, what the Niche Hunter actually does is it looks at keywords and it analyzes all the top listings beneath that keyword, okay? So it analyzes an entire niche and looks at the average sales and the average competition and all those other metrics of an entire niche. And this is really important because you don't just want to look at one listing. You want to get an idea of the entire market and make sure, gauge the demand and the competition overall. So that's why Niche Hunter is really good. Now, Niche Hunter and Product Database, one's not better than the other. They're just two alternate ways to find products. Now, let's move on to the product tracker. So you'll see that I've got some categories up the top, including the one that I just created here. So what does the product tracker do? Let me go into one of these other groups. So I'm inside of yoga mats. So essentially what the product tracker does is, in addition to giving you sales estimates, the product tracker can actually give you real daily sales. And the way we do that is by tracking products in real time. Now, the reason I'd recommend you doing that is at the moment you're looking at 60 days worth of data. If we open up this listing, you'll see all these bars represent days. Up the top, you can change the date range that we're looking at. So let's look at 7 days. In this example, or in this particular listing, the sales, they don't vary too much. But if you're looking at the sales numbers over just 2 or 3 days, those numbers can vary quite a bit. Whereas if you look at it over 30, 60 days, you can be a lot more confident in the average number of sales that you can get on a product. That's why we recommend using the product tracker. Let me change this to 30 days so that we can see some good date ranges. Up the top here, you've got all the averages of the listings below, the average number of units sold and revenue, the average price and the average star rating. And then as you come down, you can click to open these ones up more. And so as you hover over these days, you can see the individual sales numbers for each of those days. Again, the more data you have, the more confident you can be in the number of sales that are here. So if we go to the example that I just created, pool cover, we've got one listing there. My recommendation is to track at least 8 to 10 products within that particular niche, as I said before, so that you get an idea of the entire market, and then to track those products for at least 2 weeks, ideally a month, so that you can get as much information as you can about the number of sales that they're getting. Now, we've only got one listing here, which I'd really like some more. Now, we've got this really great function in the top right called recommend products. So if I click on that one, what this does is it actually recommends you other products to add to the group based off of the title that you create. So it's important to name your group accurately. So I named mine pool cover. It's now showing me a ton of pool covers. So I can just choose some, or I can just check all and add to group. I've successfully added 20 new products, okay? Again, if I open this up, I can now see all of this information. On the right-hand side, you can add notes to each individual listing, so that's really handy to jot down any thoughts that you're having. Again, you can open the listing on Amazon. So there's a lot that you can look at here inside of the product tracker. All right, now you've seen how I was able to add a product from the product database. You can also do that from Niche Hunter, and you can also do that from our Chrome extension tool. The other way to do it is to also add it by ASIN or URL, and you can add that right here. Let me show you a quick example. So if I open up a listing, I can either copy the URL up the top here or the ASIN, which is this unique number here. So if I copy that, I can paste that in and add product. So those are the different ways that you can add to the product tracker. So that really covers the product tracker and the find product section of Jungle Scout. This is the section that you're going to spend the most time in. All right, on to the next item, and that is find suppliers. I don't have time to go in depth with the rest of these sections, so I'm going to give you a brief outline and then I'll tell you where you can learn more information. So the find suppliers section is actually a fairly new feature and one that we're super excited about. This one can really help you either find suppliers or verify suppliers once you've gone through and found a product to sell. Let's move on to the keywords section. Now, the keywords section can be used for a whole bunch of different things. This gives you the search volume of different keyword searches on Amazon. So you can use these top keywords to put them into your listings to help you rank higher in Amazon search. You can also spy on your competitors' top keywords, for instance, and you can put all of these keywords into Amazon sponsored ads, meaning you can bid on those keywords to appear higher on those search terms. There's literally endless uses for Keyword Scout and the keyword tools here. We've got a listing builder that can then help you insert those keywords and build out your listing. So this section is really fantastic once you've got your product sent in and you're building out your listing and marketing it. Next is Academy, and this is another very new feature that we're very excited about. So essentially in here, we've got a lot of product tutorials and also information on how to sell on Amazon. Now, it is fairly new. We've got a few modules in here with a number of videos or lessons in each. However, we're going to be adding videos in there regularly, so make sure to come back here on a regular basis to see the new videos that we add. If you want to see more tutorials on the tools that I haven't covered in depth, you can come in here to the How to Use Jungle Scout product tutorial series, and learn how to use all of those tools. Next is our launch. Actually, I'm not going to go into it, but next we've got launch, okay? This is brand new, hot off the press. I don't believe everyone even has access to this one yet. So some of you might be familiar with our tool Jumpstart, which helps you promote your products using, promote or launch your products using promotional giveaways, and also to communicate with your customers using email campaigns. Now, we're very excited to have brought Jumpstart into Jungle Scout so that as soon as you've found a product, you can hit the ground running and start launching it. So we're very excited to bring those two in, but it hasn't officially launched yet. So I believe the official launch date will be on June 4th. So make sure you jump on our YouTube channel on June 4th for our public launch webinar. Some of you might already have access to this, some of you won't, but this is a very exciting thing to watch out for very, very soon. All right, now we have a couple more tools to run over. So the next one is down here under more tools, and that is the extension. Let me show you that one. This is a additional tool to Jungle Scout, and it runs live on Amazon.com. And this is really good if you have some ideas on what you'd like to sell. So for instance, I've typed in dog toys here because I have a feeling that, I want to sell some dog toys. And you basically come up here to the top right and you click on the extension. And essentially what it does is that it very quickly gives you a snapshot of all that information that we've talked about so far. The sales, the reviews, the price, all of that information you can see here in an instant snapshot. In the top right corner, we even give you an opportunity score, which is, as it sounds, how good of an opportunity this particular niche is. You can click on the different items such as the price to see the price history. You can also see sales history by clicking on these ones. And then you'll also note that you can add this directly to the product tracker. So it does work very well with the rest of the Jungle Scout suite, but it is an additional tool. You can also sort these listings and filter them. And you can also export this as a CSV file to view later. So there's a lot that you can do with the Pro extension. And as I mentioned, it does work very well with Jungle Scout, but it's not necessary to have both. Finally, I want to quickly show you the Jungle Scout market. And this is essentially a marketplace for everything to do with Amazon FBA, whether you need to get help getting your listing created, or you want help with product research, or taking product photography, or lifestyle photography is a very popular one. All our freelancers on the Jungle Scout market have experience working with Amazon sellers. So that's what's different about our marketplace. These people work solely or have worked a lot with Amazon sellers, so they know Amazon's requirements, and so they're the best in the business to help you with your Amazon business. So I definitely recommend checking out the Jungle Scout market for help with any services that you might need. All right, so that wraps up all of the tools inside of Jungle Scout and an overview of everything that we've got there. One last thing that I will show you is if you do need any help, we've got an amazing customer support team. Some of the people from our team are even in the chat box now answering all your questions. But if you do need further help, come down here to the bottom right corner and you can basically put in a keyword, you can search for whatever it is you're looking for. We've got a ton of articles there to help you. And if that still doesn't help you, you can also reach out to our customer support team and they'll get back to you very, very promptly. All right, so what I'd like to do now, that covers the demonstration portion of Jungle Scout. I'd like to go into a Q&A session for 10 minutes if the Jungle Scout team hasn't already answered all the questions. So let me have a look in the chat box. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box now. All right. Looks like we've got a ton of chat happening here. All right. Leonard, sometimes the information of the Chrome extension doesn't match the Jungle Scout sales in the product tracker. Could you please explain why? Let's see. So there are a number of different reasons. So one reason could be if a particular person is running maybe like a promotional giveaway. What that means is they're giving away a lot of product at a steep discount just to get some sales happening, or they might be running their price lower in order to get some more sales happening. And therefore, essentially, one way or another, it could even be external traffic, they're getting a spike in sales, which might lift the sales estimate, like the monthly sales estimate, which isn't in fact how much they're getting on a daily basis. This is why it's so important to track the products, because if you track them on a daily basis, you can then see the differences and see whether one day they've got a large number of sales and then the next actually they might have a few days of like 50 sales, but then if you track it over a month, you might see that they end up getting maybe 20 sales most of the time. So that could be one reason. But it gets a little bit tricky. It's easier to look at specific examples because there's so many variables that could affect why this is happening. So if you are seeing that, maybe reach out to our customer support team and send in the ASIN that you're seeing this with, and we can kind of investigate and give you a more specific answer. All right, Bomber Review says, when launching a product, can you add a second variation to your listing, or does it have to be done at once? Let's see. So yes, if you're talking about creating a listing, yes, you can add variations at the point that you're creating the listing before it's been created. And in fact, that's probably the best way to do it, because if you try to add a variation after the fact, it can be a little bit tricky and a little bit technical. So the best thing to do is if you're planning to sell a variation, even if you're anticipating it, maybe you only want to launch the black version to start with, but down the track you've got ideas of selling multiple colors, it's better to set up all the variations that you might sell at the start when you create the listing, because all that will happen is any that don't have stock will just be inactive. So they'll be inactive on your listing, the public won't see it, and then when you do want to sell those other variations, you can just send the stock in. But yes, you can do it at the start, and it's actually better to do it that way. I hope that answers your question. All right, so Jackie says, if you want to sell your product in sets of 2, 4, and 6, do you have to have different packaging for each set, or can a SKU be made up of multiple boxes? I'm hoping that I'm understanding your question, Jackie, but essentially, if you want to sell, a 2-pack and a 4-pack and a 6-pack, each of those need to be packed individually. So you'll need to have 2 of your item packed in one packaging. You'll have to have 4 packed all together. Then each of those is a separate variation, meaning each one is going to have its own individual SKU or SKU barcode. Okay, so each one needs to be treated individually. Okay, so in case this is what you're wondering, you can't send in 100 of your items individually and then Amazon will send out 2 of them or send out 4 of them. It needs to arrive at Amazon how you want to sell it. So yes, if you do want to sell them in pack sizes, they need to be packaged like that, and each one needs their own barcode. I hope that answers your question, but let me know. Okay. All right, so Zach says, monthly sales cannot be estimated for this product because Amazon does not rank it in a parent category. Unfortunately, subcategory cannot provide accurate sales estimates. Can you explain? Yes, I can't explain in very technical terms because I'm not an engineer, but I'll do my best. So essentially, one of the factors that contributes to our sales algorithms. So our sales algorithm is made up of a lot of different factors, including real sales data and historical sales data. But it's also based off of the parent category, right? So if you imagine going back to like my example of dog toys versus like, I don't know, sportswear or electronics, all these different categories, they, the way that the BSR works, the bestseller rank, is very, very different in all of them. So essentially, the algorithm that we use for each category is very, very dependent on that category. Like I said, it's made up of a whole bunch of items. But essentially, if we can't see the information of the parent category, then it's much harder to determine the sales because the category that the product is in is one of the determining factors of how we calculate sales. I don't know if that's the best explanation, but essentially if we can't get that information, it does make it very hard to estimate sales for that product. I hope that gives you a bit of an understanding. Yuan says, thanks Lenny, do you have any must-do tips for a product launch? Yeah, that's a great question. So there is no doubt that product launches are getting more competitive, but we're still talking to so many people that are launching their products successfully at the moment. But what I would say at the moment is do anything you can to get those first sales and reviews. Anything legal, of course, and in terms of service. But, for instance, there's things like Amazon has an early reviewer program where you pay $60 and Amazon essentially helps you get your first 5 reviews, okay? Some people kind of and ah about whether I want to spend $60, but to me it's like a no-brainer. You want to do everything you can to get those first reviews. So I would do that. There's discussion. There's been a lot of discussion recently about whether promotional giveaways still work, and that's still a topic that I'm learning a little bit more about before I weigh in on too much. But that's another strategy to help you launch, or it might be lowering your price. You might want to sell your product at $25. You might have to sell it at $18 to begin with. A lower price to get more sales. I'd turn on PPC from day one. Some people like to wait until they've got a few reviews, but I would turn it on from day one because my understanding is, and what I've heard from a lot of people, is that there's a window when you first launch a product, it might be like 30 days or something like that, where Amazon, they essentially weigh your, how would you put it? They weigh your sales a little bit heavier, or essentially it's like the more sales that you can get in that first period after you launch, it will kind of they'll give you a little bit of a rank boost because you're new. That's my understanding. So that's another reason why you just want to get sales and reviews as quickly as possible. So hopefully that gives you some of my thoughts around launching. Okay, so Moe, sorry, I forgot that wrong. Yes, have you heard Amazon started deactivating accounts of sellers using discounted giveaways? Your take? Again, I'm still trying to collect more information. It hasn't affected me personally, and I know other people that it hasn't affected. So I don't have a take on it just yet, but that, thanks for the question. That is something that perhaps when we've collected some more information, we might create a video on this to kind of share our takes, because we are talking to lots of sellers. So we'll collect as much information as we can and come back with more of a specific take. All right, so what's Jungle Scout saying? Lenny can probably talk to this, but we just launched our own product. and we didn't have any issues. Yeah, that's actually a really great point. So I'm going to do a shameless plug for the $1 Million Case Study. If you haven't seen that, then you're crazy. But essentially, that's where we publicly launched a product, and we've shared all the steps along the way. We had Rolando and Greg in there in the season 4, which has just ended yesterday. The final episode of that just came out. But essentially, we were selling these jungle, we call it the Jungle Slider keyboard tray. Rolando was running some discounted giveaways on that one and didn't have any issues. So that's an example from in-house where it was fine. But again, we'll collect more information on that. And I'd also recommend checking out the $1 Million Case Study. I'll add an end card to this video so that you can click on it, and we'll add it into the description. But definitely check that out. It's essentially like a free Amazon FBA course that shows you all the steps along the way, and we don't hold anything back. We show you the product, the numbers, everything. So it's definitely an amazing resource to learn more from. Just Jocelyn says, do you guys have a program to help us pick out our winning product from our top picks? That's a great question. We don't necessarily have a program to help you do that, but that's a really cool idea. Maybe that's something we could do a video about. What do you do when you've got a short list of top 5 products or whatever. Offhand, one of the things that I like to do when I've got a short list is I do like to use my, like the profit calculations, like that profit calculator I showed you earlier. I like to look at each one and kind of go, which products, kind of maybe rank them from like, which is the cheapest product to manufacture, right? Because that obviously means less risk. But at the same time, I'd also maybe make another list and order which one has the most profit margin, okay? And then I kind of like weigh those two things up and try to find the best balance of the product that's going to give me the most profit margin with the least risk, that I have to spend the least amount of money on. So that's one thing that I like to do when I've got a few products that all seem like good opportunities. But again, thanks for the idea. That might be something that we can create some video content around on YouTube. All right, so Zach says, actually there's a couple of PPC questions. Mike says, when running PPC, does it help to lower price to stay competitive with the competition? That's a great question. So I did mention that earlier, that might be one thing you like to do when you first start out, lower your price, hit it with PPC to try and get sales. And it might be a strategy that you use throughout the life of your listing whenever you want to just boost the sales a little bit, or help boost your keyword ranking. And just the way you do that is by getting more sales. You might want to reduce your price. The flip side of that is if you do that too long or too often, the trouble could be that your competitors might drop their price to match you or compete with you, and therefore everyone's bringing their price down, and it's kind of a race to the bottom. And so you don't want to do that either. So the way I would do it is I would use it as like a spot treatment. I would do it for a period of time, or short periods of time, if I want a little bit of a sales boost. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. All right, so Zach says, can you recommend resources or ideas on how to build a great PPC for overcoming competitive products? Zach, we've actually got a ton of really great PPC videos. I don't know if we've spoken specifically to how to compete with competitive products. That's a great idea. Again, I'll add that to the video list. You guys might have seen my face around on YouTube. I'm always looking for content ideas from you guys. So I'll definitely add that to the list. And in this video, comment with any other ideas that you might have for content that you want to see, and we'll definitely make sure to get to those ideas for you. All right, so it's been a little bit over 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining, guys. We're going to wrap it up for today. I really appreciate all you guys joining. I hope you got some value from this webinar. I hope that's helped you get started with Jungle Scout. Again, check out the Jungle Academy for more tutorials, or the Help Center if you have any further questions. And like and subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content on the YouTube channel, definitely subscribe. We're releasing videos regularly. You'll see my face a little bit more, plus a bunch of others. Thanks so much for joining today, and all the best with your product research, and happy scouting. Bye guys.